What the hell happened when you really think that you got the NFL's never figured out?
Yeah.
And right now, the team that looked like they could never be beaten, the Niners lose a weird game to the Browns. Jets fall to the Eagles also on a very ugly game. And then the Giants should have beaten the Bills. But Brad, let's start with the Browns and 49ers and holy shirts and pants.
Yeah, so here's my thing. It it would seem as if the 49ers are, not too far removed from Orlando Arcia, as we were just talking about him shit talking, because before the game, if you guys didn't catch it, there was a bit of a scrum before the game even started, and allegedly Deebo Samuel started it. Trent Williams came in and finished it, and really pissed off the Browns. Then it ended up being, as I predicted, a low-scoring game. Both of those defenses, even though the Ravens torched the Browns, both of those defenses are really good. It didn't help that Deebo left the game. Christian McCaffrey also left the game, and it was just a slugfest in Cleveland. But get down to the wire, and a missed field goal is the difference between San Francisco staying undefeated and them now suffering their first loss. You got to wonder, though, fellas, no Deshaun Watson either. So and no Deshaun Watson, no Chubb. They're out with a lot of other players. So I've been seeing a lot of noise from the media and even like folks on Twitter, 49ers fans complaining about how they didn't have all their players. That's why they lost. Like, I'm sure that there's Browns fans out there that you're just saying, shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about. Our team is like, we're without our number one running back since week 2. So, and we're still winning ball games. So, my question is to you guys, are the Browns for real, or is it just that they've been trying to just figure themselves out and they're an actual legitimate team that may or may not need Deshaun Watson to win? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
That's okay. Their defense, like you said, is absolutely incredible.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, when you have to block Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett on the same play, usually the offense is not going to do well. But the Deshaun Watson thing is where I'm not sure if he helps or hurts them. And it's weird because PJ Walker, at least in the passing game, looked at times like he was able to lead them down the field. Not anything special, obviously, against the 49ers defense. But every time Deshaun Watson steps on the field recently, it feels like we're having another moment where it's like you watch a few plays and you're like, oh, Deshaun's starting to figure it out. And then he plays 3 drives and you're like, Deshaun lost it all. And so I don't know if it's still rust. I'm not sure what it is, but the Browns, like you said, as a whole, are a very good team, especially on defense. But I'm not totally sure how Deshaun helps them. If he's Deshaun like before, this is a Super Bowl contender, unfortunately. But I've yet to see that. So they're just such a weird team. It's the Browns. They're always a weird team.
Always weird. But Deshaun Watson still is a way bigger upgrade over PJ Walker. And I love the fact I love his heart. I love his grit. But think about that. The PJ Walker, he had 0 touchdowns through 2 picks, and the Browns still beat the 49ers. Yes, the injuries were the injury bug was there for the San Francisco 49ers. But Deshaun Watson, they've had, to your point, Zach, they've had games where you go, man, Deshaun looks like he's turned the corner, and then they play Pittsburgh of being like, well, those turnovers were brutal. But then he also torched the Tennessee Titans. And if Deshaun, I'll just even say this, if Deshaun Watson plays like a top 16 quarterback, the Browns are going to be very hard to beat.
Yeah.
Because of that defense. And the fact that the Ravens got a win in Cleveland, despite him not being there, like that's a big win. Because Cleveland's going to hold around. And the fact that the Ravens are going to have to play probably a healthy 49ers team at the end of the season, when you go to San Francisco, Merry Christmas, everyone. You get the 49ers on Christmas Day in San Fran.
Like, gotta love it.
I mean, for Cleveland, you're like, oh, hell yeah. We play on a gloomy, weird weather day in Cleveland. Sign us up.
Yeah, and I think that to your point, I think that had a big impact on how the game went, was the fact that it wasn't these perfect conditions where we could really see the 49ers use all the tricks in their book. Yeah, CMC goes down, you lose Deebo. So even Trent Williams has a ankle sprain. They're not quite sure the grade, I think. But it was just super interesting that in those conditions, you saw the Browns can still run the football, which we always knew they were going to do. And then that defense just, I'll give it to them. Brad, I said it before. I thought it was going to be a blowout. And that Browns defense just keeps impressing. I think I was still a little bit on the hype train after the Ravens went in there and just ran them over. But when you see them against a team like the 49ers, suddenly you start thinking like, okay, this team's legit.
Yeah, I think they were all. I mean, Brad. I mean, that's AFC North football right now. That's just tough. These teams are still there. The Bengals won their game, and it wasn't their offense that won that game for the Cincinnati Bengals against the Seahawks. That defense showed up for Cincy, and we're starting to see that. It's going to be the team who can play the toughest football come December, January, and Cleveland's going to be right in the mix. And even though the Ravens have they're 4-2. I mean, look, even Pittsburgh's going to stay. Pittsburgh just plays different in Pittsburgh, by the way. It is so ridiculous to see. We will, as we see, we have some other Ravens comments. We're going to cover the Ravens here in a moment, by the way. I did want to pull up real quickly because I thought it was that analytics about the weather with Jake Moody's kick. There it is. Weather applied metrics at Weather Applied, for those that are wondering. This is them talking about that final kick from Jake Moody. Initial kick was heading 0.44 yards from the goalpost center, and the spin took it rightwards an additional 0.82 yards. The wind pushed it 2.39 yards further right for a total of 3.64 yards from the center of the goalpost, resulting in a missed field goal.
That's what, 10 feet? No, over 10 feet. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think Moody pulled this up in the meetings today? Like, I told you, it's not me. Look at this Twitter page. This was not my fault. Yeah, it was dead center.
Yeah, but so here's the thing: is like that's what makes kicking even so harder on a different element. Yes, it's your one job, but then also being able to adapt when the weather conditions are messing up. That's why with Justin Tucker has been so great, is for all those incredible moments,
making the adjustments. Yeah, I mean, and I'll say this: even Justin Tucker's ran into this issue. I mean, first extra point that he ever missed in his entire life, essentially since high school, was just on a fluke gust of wind. Right? It was Ravens Saints, came down to the wire. I was at that game. I was right at that field goal. I tell you what, though, historic game.
That was one of those games where it's just like the emotion of, oh my God, we tied it. Oh, Tucker's going out there to tie it.
Yeah,
Tucker just missed.
Yeah, you know what? Someone actually even said like, my friends were freaking out. Let's go. I'm like, we got to make the extra point. Apparently didn't they put the graphic up? Tucker hasn't missed an extra point, misses it. The stadium deflates. And actually that was the final game that Joe Flacco started for the Baltimore Ravens.
I was just about to say it was the first game we watched Lamar Jackson score a touchdown in. So it was, despite it being a loss, it was still a special game regardless. And it was the last time we got to see Drew Brees at the bank as well.